thank you. No, I do truly appreciate it. Oh, okay, awesome. Okay, yeah. Time is it?
It's getting about time.
Okay. Good evening. Welcome back to High Strangeness, the High Strangeness podcast. This is Bill Benny, and over there behind the computer is Jeff Turner.
Pleased to
Jeff.
meet you. Hi, how you doing? I'm Jeff, if you don't know me.
Okay. So, we promised you something great after the three-piece podcast.
Lots of high expectations on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody,
Well, we talked about it a couple of times. We discussed it.
Yeah.
Because it's big. It's a big thing. It's not like the three-piece story.
No.
You know?
That's a rare one, too.
Three-piece is one of those things. It's kind of like...
I know like three
you know,
people
what happened.
that have had a three-piece.
Got reports and everything. This is big. This is a huge, huge story.
Been around for a long time.
And it's been going on for a long time.
Yeah.
And most people don't even believe it's real.
I wondered.
But, you know, we've been doing the work. We've been doing the legwork here the past couple of months.
I've been doing the
We
work.
have been collecting information, blogs, paper.
Everything in front of you, I found that.
Yeah. I mean, but it is. It's a mountain. I don't even rightly know where to start.
Go with that
Vacant
one.
Points.
Yeah.
I guess that's where we'll start.
Yeah.
What is Vacant Points?
It's a big school.
Yeah. It's Vacant Points is a legendary high school. And it's a huge, nice brick high school that was down in the Ozarks. And it was really popular during... it was open. I mean, not popular. I don't know if it was popular or not. But it was open all the way through the 1960s, 1970s. It developed just a terrible reputation. And horrible things happened there.
If you read the part that I highlighted,
eventually it closed down. And then after it closed down, it just got worse. The reputation got even worse. And... It's downright legendary now. It's in a, I'd call it an urban legend, but it's I'm about 90% convinced it's real. Yeah,
it is.
I do.
Apparently, it's real.
I believe it. Okay, so to get us started, there's a lot of people who've written about Vacant Points. Okay. They've done, you know, there's a lot of people who there's essays. Like I said, there's a lot of blogging nowadays about it. I see
Everybody loves a blog, Bill. Everybody loves
and
a blog. I got a blog.
There's a lot of theories on why it is the way it is. Okay, so who's that one guy? Who's that guy that had all those theories?
Richard
Yeah,
Brim.
the blogger guy. Yeah.
Yep, Richard Brim.
What was his name?
Richard Brim.
Yeah, there was the guy who did the Medusa's Mirror
Same guy.
essays,
Bill. He did
which
all
we'll be
those
getting
essays.
into.
He did all that. He put it all together.
And there was
for us.
another one.
We're basically stealing his routine on this one. That was mostly his stuff.
I'm not even sure I'm in the right pile here, bud.
Yeah, that's the right one.
It's the other one. Okay.
No.
I'm sorry. I'm so disorganized. It's
My
crazy.
God,
It's a
get
mess
it
right
together, Bill.
Got the map up.
You're making us look
Yeah.
bad, bud.
Well, we've talked about this before. We didn't really know where it was. We didn't really have a clue.
Right.
You know,
We didn't
and
know
then
whether it was
sure enough,
Midwestern.
I'm pretty sure it's the Ozarks.
that's what it looks like.
Missouri side.
Missouri side of the Ozarks.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like.
I mean, it could. Well, let's see.
It's not in Arkansas. I don't think so.
Okay,
Not
so
with
there's
the way
one
it's
essays on
described.
ghosts and the
Not with the way
mythology
it's
of loss. Wow, that can't be right reading. That just sounds horrible.
Yeah.
But interesting.
Quite a chunk.
Interesting.
Quite a chunk of information you got there.
What am I looking for? I'm just looking for place to start. I'm looking for the name of the guy.
There, I put it all
Who wrote
in there. See
that?
that? See that file? Look at that.
Yeah.
See, there's the pictures.
Yeah.
Proves it's real.
That.
If you want to believe that.
Medusa's Mirror, Essays on Perception. I know.
Stay away from that. That's very heavy philosophical. He gets like that even when he's talking about the school. But there is no life and death as we have thought of it. There is only consciousness.
Richard Brem? Is that it?
How many times do I have to tell you it's Richard Brem? The varying levels of gradually dimming consciousness, ending in the lack of consciousness, which we are all.
Well, then keep playing that.
It seems highly unlikely that consciousness simply dissipates altogether.
Jesus. I thought I did have it together.
He's full of gems.
Okay,
like
so
that.
this. Okay, Richard Brem.
Mm-hmm.
Richard Brem. Yeah.
Wait, how many times are you gonna say his name, Bill?
Richard Brem.
Bill.
Brimm.
You're doing it on purpose now.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so this is what he wrote. So this is
Just pretend like
this is one of the things he wrote about it. This is kind of give us an idea of what's supposed to be going on at this abandoned school in the Ozarks. First, this is old stuff. I know I should have put it in better order. We should, but I wanted to go with it. We didn't have anything for this week lined up.
Bill,
we always wanted to do this.
I had it in order.
This is
that first stack was in order, Bill.
I don't know if this is Medusa's Mirror or
okay, here it goes.
Which one of those? Might just be his blog. Okay, so here we go. This Richard Brem says, imagine, if you would, that the darker sphere, the anti-dimension which floats apart from our own, until it draws closer and connects via a magnetic pull of events, desire, or ritual. It is similar to an Arctic ocean covered in ice. To those things which exist there swimming in alternate darkness, like shark leviathans in an abysmal ocean, they see the separation between reality, our reality, and theirs, like a layer of ice between the ocean and air. They desire a breach, a break in that fabric through which they can enter. They see us, our conscious light, and are drawn to this warmth as are orcas prowling beneath sunning seals. However, those things, these predators of the other dark, with great consideration and intent, seek out empty, lonely, strategic points through which to create their portal. They will find a place near people, but which is avoided by the many, a roost from which to feed, a lair from where to hunt, a den in which to inhabit. Upon finding a suitable vacant point, they will begin the wearing and tearing of the thick fabric which separates our world from other dark spheres. This process will proceed all that much quicker with the willing assistance of wearing against the fabric from our side of this wall. The willing assistance of those wearing against the fabric from our side of this wall. Those possessed and possessed of and predisposed to influences from these realms may find themselves compelled to visit the locations of such an oncoming breach. Here they may be consumed by impulses to commit such random depraved acts that the anti-worlds are reined in and made all that much closer. Those who become the unwitting participants in this morbid excavation will in time become the slaves of whatever influence waits, clawing desperately at the other side of the soon-to-be open, newly created door between spheres and reality.
Do you understand what he's saying? Do you understand?
And that was just from That was just a blog called Vacant Points from 2018.
It's like spheres, floating.
Yeah, I know.
And then they come together, and when they touch, they're like
because he did a study of it, and he wrote a lot of papers on it.
Pierce it. You see, it's like two balloons and a hole poking.
No.
That's pretty.
I mean, it just goes on like that, but there's more that I'd like to get into before we.
Interesting. I like that. That was interesting. Maybe if you'd read it a little bit better.
Yeah, it's called Medusa's Mirror: Essays on Perception. That's the other one.
Maybe some other time. I wouldn't recommend going into it now, Bill.
I don't know. I think in a way he's using it to rationalize. So, Vacant Points. Lingdale. That's originally Lingdale. Yeah, Lingdale, write it down. We'll forget it. It was originally called Lingdale Public High School. It was opened in the spring of 1959. It was a large 3-story brick structure occupying a vast space in Midtown beside the post office, just off of the main historical district of the community.
See, that's what I always heard. It was like, it's not like
its architecture was commendable due to large, ornate archways and visually pleasing statues situated like at the various corners of the roof. The interior held a slightly Gothic aesthetic as well. Right. And it was mentioned that it had been instituted in an attempt to compete with the quality and the lack of the local Catholic schools.
The look of the
look. It was an attempt to compete with the quality and the look of the local Catholic schools, which had gained in popularity over the past decade. Yeah. It was at the time a visual focal point for the community.
They wanted to make it look pretty.
In that area, the Catholic schools were a big thing, and it was going to be a public high school, and they wanted it to at least look like maybe it was so
the non-Catholics can
make
have
it look
pretty
like
school.
Maybe somebody would go there. Yeah.
Seems
yeah. Okay. So it goes on. Okay. Yes, I do believe this is more from Richard Brim.
It's all going to be from Brim.
Let me get this. The school's reputation ran strong until the death of a local 14-year-old boy in 1986. So it was doing pretty good until the 80s. So I guess we're saying it's not cursed land. It's not built on an Indian burial ground or anything like that, like all the other stuff in the Ozarks.
Indian burial ground. Why?
But it's true. Have you ever been there?
Why did you?
Oh
Indian
yeah.
burial
Every place you go.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, hills. There was a place up there.
Hills.
It was like a little. It was like one of those little. When you sit on the thing and you go on the zip line
thing. What are you talking about?
What's that?
Oh, the chicken. Chicken's done.
It's the chicken.
It's the chicken.
It's the chicken.
Oh,
yeah.
It's
okay.
So good.
Get it?
Starving.
Sorry, folks. Our chicken's ready.
I'll just get it.
Just be patient.
I'll get it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure it's good.
Mm-hmm. So what? Are there just great? Are there Indian burial grounds everywhere?
We're up here in the loft overlooking Main Street.
Yeah. Okay, back. So
yes, the train is very nearby. There's always a train. Every podcast we do, there's a train. But here's my question: you're talking about the Indian burial grounds. Indian burial grounds. You're talking about some place where they had a lift, and I was interested because I'm just imagining the Midwest. The Boyd night. Okay, so we were saying, yeah. Like I was,
and I'm just seeing about Indian burial grounds,
the airlift thing, or
all over
the zip line thing. You sit on the little bench, and it would take you over the town. But God, how long does it take to go through town? And it goes over.
Train.
Anyway, you would sit on the thing, and it would take you over the river.
Right.
And it was a place right around there. It was called don't.
Oh yeah, no, don't say the name
Anyway,
of the place.
So
Don't say the name of the place.
it had a pad
Right.
that when you boarded,
It's like a
you
concrete
got in, you
thing.
strapped in, kind of like a little ski lift. Ski lift. That's what I'm looking for. It wasn't for skiing. It was just for sightseeing.
Okay, now
And it went over the little cute little town they had down by the river.
Oh,
And
right.
the ski lift thing had a big hill,
Right.
like a big pad that they poured the concrete on, and that's where you got on.
That's interesting.
Yes.
Sightseeing.
Bones started to turn up out of it, and weird stuff. And it turned out that this entire little amusement park area on the top of this hill,
I got
with the main part being that bump, was an Indian burial ground. No. The real thing, yeah. Yes. Oh, no, they didn't. Not immediately. It wasn't until a few years later. This was back in the old days. This is like 1970s. And
Really?
things were different back then. They sold tickets.
Yeah. Whoa. They sold tickets.
Yes, I am very serious.
They sold tickets to the
made a little
Indian
area.
burial
And they
ground.
put like a little diner around it. And you come in, you get yourself a burger.
Whoa,
And a sarsaparilla is what they used to call it.
That's,
It's
that's
root
not
beer.
even funny, Bill.
And
Seriously?
they had dug up an area of the ground, and there was bones in there.
Are
and
you
come in, sit
kidding
down,
me?
eat a burger, and look at the Indian bones.
You did that when you were a kid? You
No,
sat down?
yeah, it was very real.
Did you have a milkshake
No,
too?
I'm not kidding.
Oh, no, you're not kidding. Is it sitting there?
Yeah,
Why?
eventually the word
that
got
something
out,
they like
and
to do over
the
there?
nations, the First Nation people, had come
Okay.
in, and they shut it down, and they
Of
reclaimed it.
course.
Yeah.
It's their family.
It took a really long time, a lot longer than it should have.
yeah.
Probably. Yes, it is.
Obviously.
It's disgraceful. How would you like people eating burgers in the cemetery where your great
Actually, that's a
laying
thing
around?
in England.
But
back in the old
people-
days,
yeah.
people would have picnics in cemeteries.
So anyway-
now that I think about it.
So
That's
this wasn't
not that
cursed
uncommon.
land.
But the bones.
That's
on
what
it.
we were saying. We can't wander off like that. We got to stay on topic. Okay,
Stay on
it
topic.
wasn't cursed land.
Come on, buddy.
It seemed like
Focus
everything was
up.
doing pretty good. It was there, kind of in town by the post office, and there wasn't a whole lot going on there. You know, they weren't claiming that there was objects moving or that they were seeing ghosts or anything like that.
There's no report
But,
of supernatural activity.
Then there was
before.
this incident
This
in
incident happened.
1986,
I
and there
remember
was a
reading
kid.
about it.
His name was
I
Rick
read about
Marsh.
it. Oh, bloody hell. It
Rick
was
Marsh
so
had
bad.
reported, and this is dark, but this is the story. Rick Marsh had reported to several members of the school staff that he was being molested by the
kid.
gym teacher.
Poor kid.
Ricky,
Poor kid.
as he was called, being an unpopular and often bullied student,
That was
found his
true,
claims disregarded.
That was true. I saw that in a newspaper.
After several months of increasing pressure and torment from his fellow students, when word of his accusations leaked into the general community,
kids turned
Rick Marsh, he took his own life and was found hanging, suspended by a rope
Poor
from the
kid.
basketball goal hoop
God.
at the far east side of the school gymnasium.
Bloody dog.
Stapled to his denim coat was a single sheet of paper
Shoot.
with the words, "Only God forgives," written in bold red marker.
Well, like the movie. The
What?
movie with Ryan Gosling.
Yeah,
You know what I'm talking
Yes.
about, right?
it's
That
a movie.
Yes. It's a movie. Only
Who?
God Forgives. With Ryan Gosling.
No, I've never seen it.
You've never seen it? Well, I watched a little bit of it, but I saw like a video
Okay.
with music that a guy put
Okay.
together. He used it for the background for his rave music. But anyway, it was only
But
God.
this is. Only God forgives.
Yeah.
And he was hanging from
called
the
Black
basketball.
Ceiling or something.
So, despite the best
really
efforts of
good.
the school board, not to cut you off,
Go right ahead.
to downplay the magnitude of the incident, Rick's death would be the catalyst which began the gradual disintegration of the school, and in
That
many
was the
ways,
turning
the
point.
town.
That was the turning point.
More students came forward, many of whom who had been attempting to bully Rick Marsh into silence.
Oh my God.
Yes, that's right.
The kids.
The ones who
bullying
had
him.
bullied the boy were also being
They
molested.
were also
And
being
they were.
molested.
The gym teacher in question
Horrible.
was found dead
Oh my God.
of a gunshot wound
Oh, he
to
did
the head
that
in
dead
his
too.
office.
Did a parent kill him?
Oh, no. I had a great... No. I had a great gym teachers. I had several great gym teachers. They're really, they get a bad reputation.
They do.
Yeah.
Especially back in those days.
It was
days. Really bad. Gym teachers.
They used to, when I was in school, they used to paddle kids in front of the class.
It was a lot different.
They did that now.
Oh, it was a lot
Somebody
different.
took a kid, had a big wooden board, and just
all this stuff.
paddled them.
Roger Waters would like to see now.
Spanked them in front of an entire classroom. They did that. I saw that every day. I experienced it.
Yeah. Well, I did too. It was
okay. Well, anyway, but no. But this man, this gym teacher,
that a man could do that,
probably was guilty, and
probably.
The death was labeled as suicide, even though the wound to the head.
Right, I see that. There's train.
Oh no! Even though the .38 police special revolver found at the scene was not an item known to be in his possession.
Maybe one of the kids shot him.
To be in the possession of the now deceased teacher.
Oh, maybe a parent.
It was suicide, but it wasn't his gun.
Set it
Paranoia, suspicion, and gossip ran rampant as more children were pulled from the yearly roster.
Well, I mean, it looks
by the
pretty
end
bad.
of the 80s.
You got half a school being molested by a gym
the
teacher,
school
and
could not muster funding.
No one finds out until bloody kid
to remove the enormous amounts of asbestos used in the building heating ducts.
Too. Oh, what a lovely!
Had asbestos too.
What a learning community.
The temporary closing of the building proved to be a permanent condition. Langdale Public High School was closed and abandoned in the fall of 1991.
It wasn't the molesting; it was the asbestos that shut it down. That makes sense.
Yeah,
they didn't have enough money to keep all the kids.
Well,
so they shut it down. And
I don't know. I didn't think the.
But look how much darkness. Look how much.
But in retrospect, I guess there was. That was the last age before the technological revolution.
1990s.
Before the cell phones.
1990s, buddy. That was it.
AI. Before everything like that started.
Yeah.
It was like
so
we were living in the Stone Age back in those days.
It was in comparison.
Yeah.
You talk about it, and it's like
it's hard to even imagine.
Talking about medieval.
But
times.
anyway, so by the summer of 1987, the school premises had become a hangout for various groups of bored adolescents. According to existing anecdotal accounts, at least 3 different groups were known to frequent the building. The first, a combination of 3 boys and 2 girls between the ages of 13 and 15.
Okay, so this is after it's closed.
The 5 were known enthusiasts of a medieval sorcery role-playing game.
What, Dungeons and Dragons or something?
In which the characters were witches existing within the confines of a Dark Age society.
No, it's I remember that one.
Mage.
I remember that one from when I was not Mage. The Ascension.
I don't think it was a Mage game.
That's newer. That was like that wasn't medieval.
They did have a medieval
one, but I
we
bet
don't really
you
need to point it out.
Oz Magica.
Well, it wasn't Dungeons and Dragons.
It was Oz Magica. I'm telling you.
It was 1987, so most of that stuff hadn't even come up yet. So it was probably something like what was that one?
Oz Magica. I'm looking at her right now, Bill.
Ars Magica.
Yes.
That was it. That was set in the Dark Ages, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. Yes.
Okay.
That's exactly the way it was set up. And
okay, so wait a minute. So recap real quick. It was 1987. The school had been closed down, and there was kids sneaking into it.
Of course, there was.
And
kids
sounds
sneaking.
like there was 3 different groups of kids, and the first one that we're talking about is this 5, 3 girls, 3 boys, 2 girls, probably playing some Dark Age, probably Ars Magica. That's probably what they were playing. The second group
good game.
Consisted of a motley collection of older adolescents of unknown identity who used the school for purposes of partying and drug use.
Now, see, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
See that coming up.
That's what I would have thought. I say, hey, kids getting into school, they're going to be high, drunk.
If you had just said that those kids sneaking in
painting things on
I wouldn't have said they were going in to play Ars Magica. I probably would have said they were partying and using drugs.
Yeah, I wouldn't have guessed Ars Magica either. But,
I guess so.
But honestly, it was. I mean, you would think it would be a great place to be playing Ars Magica. If you think about it.
And then the last group.
Okay.
Being 3 senior girls who, although not frequenting the building, were known to have occupied its empty halls on at least 3 occasions to employ an Ouija board and hold amateur seances.
They were going in and playing with the Ouija board.
Each of these groups had little or nothing to do with each other.
Right.
And would remain in almost completely unaware.
You got your drug kids.
When the members
and then you've got
of the alternating vacant school clubs began to share in similar experiences as they. So there was these 3 different groups, and they weren't really even that aware of each other.
Right.
And yet they were all starting to.
They're going to all start having these
experiences.
Supernatural experiences.
Okay.
Yeah. That's the way it's going down.
So surviving documentation from interviews with police, parents, and acquaintances paints a sinister portrait of the events leading to the eventual series of tragedies. Beginning with the role players, it was noticed that as school ended in spring, they spent increasing amounts of time immersed in their fictional world.
Okay.
Detailed notes kept by the players of their gameplay indicates a growing confusion as they began to believe they were manifesting actual abilities like those possessed by their in-game avatars. Their notebooks became filled with bizarre esoteric symbols and rambling accounts of telekinetic disturbances. It must be mentioned that the 5 came to believe that they had summoned a demon during an intense week-long game session. And that this dark stranger was granting them real occult abilities.
Oh, that kind of sounds cool, though. I mean,
maybe. Meanwhile, the unidentified group of drug enthusiasts were teleporting. were reporting. They weren't teleporting.
They weren't teleporting.
Meanwhile, the unidentified group of drug enthusiasts were reporting to various other circles and sources their feeling that their drug experiences, their highs and trips, were no longer excluded to times while they were under the direct influence of the substances.
Wow.
In fact, members were rumored to have bragged often that actual drugs were no longer necessary for them to induce highs or hallucinations.
Oh, my.
Several of the group are reported to have sought clinical help.
Some people would argue.
And were hospitalized. Only one account exists as documented by a counselor at a local rehab facility who recorded the experience as reported by a young woman of 16, identified only as Amanda. Her account goes as follows.
Oh, wow.
That's that.
So they just ended up high all the time. Yeah, couldn't come down. Is that what it... Yeah. That's what it's saying. Huh.
Okay, so this is the girl.
So
what the girl said.
One girl gets magic, the other girl gets high.
This is the Amanda girl.
Sounds horrible.
The high. It just never wore off. We were tripping hard for the whole night. And then this is the doctor, I assume? Yeah. And what were you and your friends taking? It was acid, LSD, and it started out normal, you know. We had a blast. But then it was morning, and we were just like, wow, this is good shit. And then it was noon, and then night again, and no one was tired or hungry or anything.
It must have been really good.
It says patient stops for almost 10 minutes and sways in chair as if she is listening to music.
Because she was still...
Then opens her eyes again as if remembering where she is.
Oh, my God. So it was
what were we saying?
It went on forever.
You were describing what had happened. God. Yeah, right.
She's lost inside it.
So it just kept going. And we were seeing things and hearing things. And then, by the second night, we were scared, you know. What kind of things were you seeing? I see things all the time now. More things change. No. I see things all the time now. Things move, things change. There are shapes everywhere inside walls, in mirrors. There's shadows with nothing to make them. I want to sleep, but I already am. I'm just a dream now, and the dream just goes on and on. And there's music and voices, but I can't make out what they're saying. There's shouts and whispers and screams, and it's like I'm standing in the middle of a crowd, and they all want something, but I don't know what, so they get mad, and that's when it gets worse. That's when everything shifts and melts, and then it's so quiet, but I don't want the voices back. But then I'm alone, and I just want everything to stop, but it never does. Where am I?
Poor girl. Oh, wow. Okay. Oh. I wonder how long that went on.
She went on a permanent trip.
Oh, God. She never came back. She never came back.
Sounds horrible.
Jeez.
Just sounds terrifying.
What could do that, though? I mean, I've heard about drugs causing, like, psychosis, but,
okay.
I mean, just a trip.
The account given by Amanda concurs with the journal entries of the young gamers who felt as if the fantasy state created by their game was enhanced and simply did not end. 14-year-old Victoria gave the most vivid description of her experience.
It's like they went in and that's to this fantasy.
That's an actual photo
creation
from the notebook, maybe?
And it becomes like a never-ending delusion.
Justin calls it transposition.
Transposition?
It's when a demon of the lower hells begins to emerge into our world through the possession of a host.
Oh, this is those
He
kids.
thinks that a succubi has chosen me to ride into our world.
Yeah.
I am the gate. I am the key. And all my power continues to manifest. All the sheep of this bleak earth will suffer my lust and my wrath. We will corrupt the churches of men, and the Inquisition will crumble to dust. Here, Victoria refers to the growing relationships the gamers had developed with other students at the local religious schools, which, according to their entries, were viewed as strategic attacks against the ruling church.
Oh, I wonder what that was.
So the
let
gamers,
me write that down. I want to look into that.
in medieval Europe, the church they started
because it was
with
the church,
with the
and they were witches against the church, so they sold
strategic attack. What did
but
they
they
do?
said there was
just a strategic attacks against the ruling church.
We
wait for the boys as they leave and to take them to the ruins of our temple, where they are seduced and degraded. We show them wonders now, but oh, the nightmares which are coming. I can light flames at will now. See my dark sister behind me in the mirrors at night. She spreads her shadowy wings and reaches out her arms to embrace me. At first I feared her, but now she is my kin. My body becomes her body, and my thoughts hers. But now she hers. My skin is becoming bruise-colored and beautiful. Justin changes too, as he grows to resemble dark fallen Phanuel. If only the church knew how in time all the angels fell.
Like Angel Fanny.
Oh, wow. Yes. It said, if only the church knew how in time all the angels fell.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's very poignant.
It must be indicated that the ruined temple refers to the abandoned school, and that Phanuel is the name given by the group for the main dark male entity which the group felt it had apparently summoned. It is indicated in earlier entries that they had in-game been attempting to summon an angel, but upon succeeding were told by the entity that there are no angels left in heaven.
At first God grew weary and slept. So his keepers grew dismayed. One by one they distanced themselves until even great Michael and wondrous Gabriel were roaming the earth alone and broken among men as shades. It was then, in the darkest hours, when they knew that God had in fact left, that a door opened, and there stood their lost brother Lucifer. It was he who forgave and welcomed them into his kingdom.
This is what was in
so they would not be alone.
This
Come,
is what
brothers,
they were.
he said, stand with me at my feast.
So God stops, and the angels just sort of leave him.
For now, all of creation is ours.
Fall, and they all end up with Lucifer because God has left.
The souls of men are our manna, and the great image of the Maker we will corrupt. And with this kindness, he brought them into his realm and let them rule as equals. Thus, the hierarchy of hell was forged with forgiveness and trust in the depths of oblivion.
Wow. That's some pretty heavy Satanist shit right there. Oh, I'm sorry. Satanist stuff.
It might be of interest to mention that none of the details of this complex theology actually originate in the game played by the teenagers.
I mean,
and is apparently
that was
entirely the product
kids.
of their powerful delusions.
Wow, I bet they spent a lot of time at the library. Wow. That is hardcore. That is very hardcore. That is like
they
all
made
the angels fell.
Their stuff in their notebooks. They didn't get it from the game.
That's dark. Is that from a movie?
I know.
You think that maybe like what was that one movie with Christopher Walken?
Of the three amateur occultists,
back to
hereby known as Samantha, Dot, and Liz, little is known of their actual experiences, but through later anecdotal references made while attending college in the following years, they ended up going to college. The boyfriend of the girl, referred to as Samantha, used the three girls' experiences as a reference point in a psychology paper written as an essay on the effects of group hysteria and self-hypnosis. He infers that the girls, on leaving the area of the town in question, had come to doubt the reality of their experiences. It may be important to note, however, that the three high school seniors had a limited exposure to the influence of the school, having only visited it on a few occasions.
Because their thing was all about ghosts.
Even then, however, their experiences bore a chilling likeness to those shared by the other two groups.
But it was shaped
The
by
essay,
their minds.
titled Modern Effects of Turn of the Century Occultism, gives a number of disquieting events experienced by each of the girls in their homes, which were located within a radius of 1/2 mile around the school.
So they were near.
Beginning with Dot, who first had begun noticing crawling sounds in her bedroom each time she turned the lights on. This resulted in an ongoing insomnia that the essay alludes to as the cause for later experiences, culminating at a point where, while standing at the funeral of Dot's grandmother, she heard the voice of the deceased calling out from within the coffin. The resulting breakdown led to the girl's hospitalization the following day. It must be mentioned.
Can you imagine?
It must be mentioned.
Can you imagine? She was going
that her removal from the area of the school seems to have produced the only real curative in these cases, as all three girls advanced
like the closer you are to the school.
a complete recovery after leaving the state, while the other groups suffered in amounts seemingly in proportion to their proximity to the school itself. Liz, the youngest girl of the senior group, endured the most intense of phenomenon, with her family home being situated only a few blocks away. It was she who reported feeling that she was disconnected from her own reflection, starting when she would look in mirrors and see items such as photographs, vases, flowers, and knives
which were not in her actual presence.
I hate that
Later,
stuff with mirrors.
disturbances
I always
escalated
think I'm
when
really looking
her
in
own
the
reflection would pause, or at times move slightly apart from her own movement. After seeing her reflection smiling at her before bed one night, her terror of reflective surfaces became overwhelming and led to a stunning deterioration in her personal appearance,
I bet.
which until then she had been fastidious in her regard to.
Oh my God, that would mess
She
me
she
so
she got
bad.
yeah she kind of got
Because
sloppy.
it's like another world.
It may be mentioned that in the context of the essay, much of this phenomenon is questioned and reasoned to have been caused by numerous possible explanations, such as toxic mold.
Oh,
Yeah.
right.
Open wiring.
Yeah. That would
Electromagnetic fields.
Electromagnetic fields. Yeah.
And the general overall impressional state of the girls.
Right.
It would be only the effects felt by Samantha which led to debate over what might physically be influencing the group. It was Samantha who would produce the only lasting evidence of anything having actually occurred when, after the three's second seance,
what was it?
she began what could only later be determined as a false pregnancy, even though, according to her, she had at no point been engaged in any form of sexual relationship. However, medical records exist which show that she did in fact at one point test positive for pregnancy and for several months showed signs of carrying a child. It would be her...
What would do that?
It would be her testimony of having conceived, carried, and lost a child. It would be her questioning not only the experiences, but the testimony itself. The writer subtly suggested that perhaps his own girlfriend had in fact manufactured an elaborate fiction in order to disguise some hidden event, such as rape, incest, or sexual promiscuity.
Yeah, he's just going to say how she was probably told it as a story.
I mean, it does make sense. It would make sense. I mean, if I was him, I would.
If there was really no reason, and I mean, I can see where he got that, but like, this is a supernatural thing going on here, man. I mean, think about that. She got pregnant. Was it from a ghost? Is that what it was trying to say? It's like a ghost got her pregnant, or
what happened to the other kids? I wonder.
Or one of the angels. But these things didn't cross over from one delusion to another. You know what I mean? Like the girls were seeing a ghost.
We should look into that. You should look into that.
What?
Yeah.
What should I look into? You look at but you see what I'm saying?
Well,
it's like there was no crossover between the delusions. So yes, I see what you're saying. I should look and see what you got the demons, the Dark Age demons, you got the ghost group, and then you've got the drugs. And
well,
it's the demon people didn't get high, and the high people didn't.
That was all part of this other thing.
Wow. So it's their own delusions, or their own fantasies.
Well, I didn't want to get into the blog essays of his, because they kind of go on and on about it.
You're going to have to.
Well, I mean, it's about it. He's adding.
He does ramble, but so
as a point of interest on this singularly bizarre case, it would be remiss to note that almost all of the individuals involved have, for the most part, vanished from history. Of all the adolescents that became affected by the anomaly at the abandoned school, only one is noted to have returned to her family, and who subsequently left the area, and that was the girl known as the medium.
He's saying they all disappeared?
As for the other young people, they were mentioned only in the following years in missing persons reports filed by their families following their releases from hospital care.
Where did they go?
They disappeared
into the school.
Is that real?
I'm going to find out.
Well, look.
I'm going to get all the names, and I'm going to list them all, and then I'm going to go back through, and I'm going to do a thorough
what was it?
And I'll find out, and I'll come back, and
there's got to be a way to verify that.
Oh, yeah. There's records and the newspapers.
The 1980s weren't that long ago.
No, I'll just write it all down into sort of like a report.
Okay, so I got more here. That girl. That's where all the information is, because she was the only one that turned up. That they got
children, but
it had been the third girl only who had not been relentlessly tormented by an apparent haunting. However, an ongoing dialogue had persisted between her and a being which she had been communicating with via the Ouija board. This entity, as it described itself, was referred to as Mr. Halls in her personal journals.
Mr. Halls.
A reference to the dark shape she had witnessed wandering the hallways of the abandoned school. It would be her initial contact which would prove to be the most vital and clear, as Mr. Halls did not manifest as inherently dangerous or threatening to its contacts. It may be in this contact that the first and only explanation of events was forthcoming. And then there is a
she's actually
copy
talking,
of a journal entry. Now, this is the girl.
That
Mr. Halls is not a ghost, and if I am to believe what I am told by this looming shadow, none of what is occurring at the school is a haunting. Mr. Halls has described a place devoid of order. What we call laws in physics do not exist, or at least do not on any level that he is aware of. What he describes is a discordant vacuum of random, uncontained energy, but not the kind of energy with which we are familiar. He describes it as almost corrosive or degenerative when it is brought into contact with our matter and energy.
Negative energy?
I asked him at first if he was describing another world or dimension, but he says that it is more like the absence that exists between realities. He cannot describe it because he himself does not completely understand it. But it is much like lava coursing beneath the Earth's surface. When certain events occur, it finds weak points in the surface, or the fabric, as he calls it, and then it breaks through. When this anti-energy spills through, it is formless, and we can only be perceived by people, humans, through certain unconscious mechanisms of their conscious/unconscious mind. The brain cannot comprehend the makeup of this new darkness, but through the processes comprehend akin to processes, but through the processes akin to dreaming, creation, or narcotic influence. The brain cannot comprehend the makeup of this new darkness, but through the processes akin to dreaming, creation, or narcotic influence. So the minds of humans, particularly the young, kick it into an overdriven state of hyperperception as their mind attempts to translate what it deems unnatural and give order to what has no discernible form. It is oddly enough very similar in some respects to doing a word search puzzle, like staring at a field of seemingly unconnected random letters until the mind begins to draw words from the chaos. This same pattern finding process is how we as humans perceive the energy/anti-energy from this thin point of negative volcanic power erupting into our space. However, since we have very little control over this faculty, actually very unpleasant,
almost completely unconscious.
From what I can tell, the experience
like a dream. It's like a dream, but only they're awake.
Yeah, her handwriting.
It puts them into a permanent
anti-energy from their thin point of negative volcanic power erupting into our space. However, since we have very little control over this faculty, actually very little training, the result can be what Mr. Halls refers to as unpleasant. From what I can tell, the experience is more like an endless, ever-evolving, waking nightmare. Well, that just
but it makes sense. It makes
it does make sense.
It makes perfect sense.
The Hall thing did seem to be explaining it.
All of it. It really does.
Yeah, it's pretty freaky, if you ask me.
I can really. I'm beginning to want. I can see.
Oh,
this
there's
happening.
more. This one.
Can you imagine being a kid and you're out there and you're on
So I asked Mr. Halls what happens to life forms from here that somehow become trapped.
Right, because
This process he compared to an insect trapped in amber. All the particles of that being become a locked singularity. This is why those affected by the anti-energy cannot change from one state of consciousness
like
into
ghost.
another. If they were in fact to cross over, they would, for all intensive purposes, be like a ghost swimming in a void of emptiness.
Oh, because they
become
on the
manic,
other side.
and their confusion escalates wherever they are brought into contact with the space from which they originate.
God, is that what
In this state, they will do anything to be free of their stasis.
they call it like
He described them as terrified psychic creatures lashing out from within a frozen moment.
Well, they seem real.
I asked Mr. Halls how he
Was
avoided this fate, and he
other
describes
things
himself
inside the
as an initiate, a trained adept
this is
who
what
was
Hall
sent into the absence as a seeker of experience
Oh,
and ward to guard others from entering. He
so he's
speaks
like
of a religion
he's like an entity
or
that was put
philosophy
into
in
this.
which he was trained,
I wonder where he came from.
and after passing through 8 levels, he was deemed capable of executing the task laid out by his masters.
As a
He
god.
waits in the void
That's great.
and
So
stands at any potential opening,
So he's there to try and keep people out of there like a watchdog, is what it is.
staying guard
That's great.
to guard those unwitting beings who
But then
may
why
become
could
affected
only
by the
that one
temporal
girl
anomaly.
really
Unfortunately,
talk to me?
each subsequent being perceives him
Because the Ouija board.
in an
She
entirely
was using
different
the
way.
Ouija board.
They were all seeing it.
Yes, they were all seeing it, but the other ones were translating it into a demon or what was the other ones? The drug ones.
Do you get that?
But they weren't talking to
crazy.
it, and the one girl was talking
crazy,
to it with
'cause
the
the kids,
Ouija
they
board.
saw,
so she gave it a medium by which she could communicate. So it actually told her who
But they
it was.
didn't. They weren't communicating with it like
Right.
But their own delusions were.
I mean, it was still her delusion.
Yeah,
It
you're
was
right.
still-
That is a delusion.
Yes,
Her
it was
delusion
still
is
a delusion,
Yeah.
but it was like
Yeah.
hers had this trans medium.
that is
talk.
something else.
You know, she like gave it a way to communicate, and so it
it's-
talked to her
it's
through
still
the
there.
delusion, while the other ones were just free floating high and in the game. So it was trying to walk her through it in order to keep her out of it. It was probably trying to stop all of them actually, but they couldn't. They weren't
much more?
receiving.
Well,
they were
there's-
caught.
That guy,
That's
that
crazy.
Brim guy, the one who's
Richard
who's,
Brim.
his
Wrote the whole
blogging spot is where we're getting a lot of this.
Yep. Oh wow! How did he? I wonder
he's
what he
got-
thinks about all that.
I think
Is he
kind
still
of
alive?
like a description of the place.
Oh
Yeah.
Oh really? Like how it looks.
As it exists recently.
Oh
But this isn't recent. I think this was like 10 years ago.
right, because this all of that stuff
Yeah.
is old. That's from like 2010 to 2012 or
Let's see.
something.
When I walk along the sidewalk,
The side whack. What are you doing?
Sorry.
Side whack.
Take 2.
All right. Clip.
When I walk along the sidewalks of these quiet neighborhoods, I am overwhelmed by the feeling of impending nature. I see the various old houses seated on their concrete foundations, erupting up from the ground with a certain sense of desolation, their windows glowing in the evening darkness as the low hum of air conditioners join with the high chorus of summer cicadas. Everywhere there are signs of man's domain, cars, power lines, street lamps, the nearby shouts of children, the distant babble of televisions and car stereo systems. All around electricity is channeled into device after device. Girls seated on porch steps of some century-old 2-story brick structure with their faces lit by the screens of their cell phones. Layered over all of this is nature's waiting presence looming on every surface and roof. And it does not seem overly subdued by our kingdom. Okay, yeah.
Layered over all of this is nature's waiting presence looming on every surface, and it does not seem overly subdued by our kingdom. When I see the vines, roots, and limbs reaching and climbing on every wall, I feel only tolerance. A force that knows all these things are but a brief flash of power displayed by an arrogant and reckless species. The insect armies still holding dominion in the cracks, crevices, and shadows of every inch. The birds swimming in vast clouds over the trees and houses. As a storm flashes in the horizon, the wind begins to rise, and its whisper becomes a moan, a sorrowful despair laced with warning. As if to say, I can destroy you. The children playing in the waning daylight do not hear. The men drinking by their backyard grill are deliberately deaf, as nature repeats, this could end. Wow. Then I cross to the park, and I see the old school, the scene of so much tragedy and rumor. It stands fenced in, and here nature has laid claim to the rotted shell that is this empty, cadaverous structure. Blackbirds roost in the hundreds along the roof and gutters, their nests tucked into open spaces in the bricks. The rear half of the school, containing the gymnasium, was leveled in the previous summer and is now a vast empty space of growing adolescent trees, bushes, and tall grass. I see a family of raccoons crawling through the broken windows into the basement.
Little trash pan.
As stray feral cats look on from the stairs to the boarded front entrance. The front of the school has been mowed, and there I see a sign. A development company has purchased the property, and I have been told that the remaining half of the school, containing classrooms and offices, is to be renovated and repurposed into an apartment building. This great vacant haunting mausoleum is to be a residential building. People will live there, and I can only stare in disbelief, because here, as the wind rises and the storm comes, that warning is like a great wailing cry in the song of every bird and bending sway of overgrown vegetation. Whatever darkness had resided here in the years past had receded, drifted off like a black, venomous cloud. But I fear that should man return in his nightmares, sins, and evils, it might very well return, called back like a predator, drawn by the scent of an open, bleeding wound.
Really? Oh, that is heavy. Oh my God.
I think he really obsessed over this place.
Oh yeah, but it went away. I mean, he's saying he felt like this energy had moved on, but then if the right things happened,
So is that what happened?
it would come back. Did they make it into an apartment? Can we find that apartment?
Yeah.
Can we find that apartment building?
I wonder if people are living in it. I wonder if there's more.
That would be great. That'd be a great interview.
Well, if it's real.
oh yeah, we should go there. We should find it.
We got
Go
this
there.
far.
That's how can you imagine? It'll be like the people that we talked to on Zoom with the 3-piece thing. You know, like
your
all
key,
this.
bud.
Remember the witnesses? Yeah, I will. That's what I'm saying. I'll do
Do
it.
what you're best at, man.
Oh, why, thank you. I will. I will do that
I'm kidding.
gladly.
I'm kidding. Is the hour almost up? We're almost done
Yes.
the hour.
Yep. About another minute, but I think we can go over a little bit. We can cut it out or something. But that was great.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot of cool stuff.
Okay, so I think we're gonna stop.
It kind of makes me kind of feel crazy. It kind of makes me feel crazy, doesn't it? It makes you think about reality and question.
Can you imagine? Like if somebody was living in
That's
the Vacant
blows my
Points
mind.
school and
What if
didn't
stuff
even
kept on
realize it?
happening? What if stuff kept on happening?
That would be crazy.
Oh, I want to know.
Yeah.
I want to know. I want to be able. I'll be able
I
to
mean,
do
it's
this all night.
legendary.
I I'll be up all night. Yeah, it is.
That was just some of it. That this guy had gathered
remember
together.
you talking about it, saying it was a big thing here in the West and whatnot.
I mean, there's more. There's more disappearances.
Yeah, I know. Because there's like all that stuff there, like that
deaths,
over the
hauntings,
years.
I guess you'd call it. Weird stories. I've heard weird stories about Vacant Points since I was a little kid. And that place.
I'm fascinated.
That would have been.
I'm fascinated.
Open when I was a child.
Yes, around our age.
Yeah,
we would have been. You could have went there.
Yeah.
You might have gone to Vacant Points.
Langdale Public School.
Public School.
In Ozarks. All right.
Well, okay. Catholic school, apparently.
Guys,
if you've been living there.
Thanks.
Yes.
For
thank you.
making your way over here again
Attending
and putting up with our
again. Thank you.
Random chitter chatter. I hope we gave you something to think about tonight. Maybe we can find something more. Maybe get a little bit of closure on this one. That is coffee. The Legend of Vacant Points.
Vacant Points
is what we explored tonight.
That's right.
Yeah. Well,
I really enjoyed that one. It's got me
3-piece did pretty good. People liked the 3-piece one. I had a lot of comments on that.
They did. I think it was because of the interviews.
Yes.
Because of the people that we talked to. Made it
so
verified it. Gave it ground.
Yes. Well, so this is Bill Benny and
Jeff Turner.
And this has been High Strangeness. We'll see you soon.
Later.
Good night.